Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Stevenson from Calaveras Public Access Television. I'm here with Cori Allen, who is the director of Calaveras Health and Human Services. A big job in Calaveras County, considering that we are in a pandemic. So I wanted to get together with you today to very casually just talk about, where we are and what we can do to help with the pandemic, considering there's a fair amount of vaccine hesitancy right now that that we still have to deal with. We vaccinated people that want the vaccine, but we need to get to the people that have objections. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Do you think that Calaveras County is more vulnerable than other places to the pandemic?
I would say that we are more vulnerable. And the reason is that when we look at our health rankings, we do not fare very high on the rankings when it comes to lots of different factors. And what I'm looking at here, let's see, is our Calaveras County health outcomes. Length of life, for instance, is a measure of a health outcome. And in Calaveras County, our numbers are worse than the state as an average. We have, as a poor physical health days is higher than the state. Poor mental health days is higher. So quality of life, length of life, even our health behaviors in Calaveras County fall lower on the rankings than our partners across the state. And that includes things like obesity, smoking, which is at 16% versus 11% in California. Physical inactivity is at 27% versus 18% statewide. So when you take some of these indexes and factors, it does place our residents at a higher risk for comorbidity, for those things that can have a further impact on our well-being when we do get impacted by COVID.
Yeah, it just at a glance, you can see that we're in Calaveras County older. We have an older population. We are poorer. We have less education as compared to the figures I've seen are compared to the rest of the country. We have poor health literacy as well. So I think, these things make us more vulnerable. So the question is that, what can we do about it? Why do you think, for people that are hesitant, why can we tell them that it's important that they get the vaccine and they take these health measures that protect us from the COVID-19 virus?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, but the data just continues to point in the direction that if you are vaccinated, you are less likely to become significantly or seriously ill. You are less likely to be hospitalized. The data continues to show this over and over. And of course, if you're vaccinated, you're far less likely to die. And anywhere you search, you will find that data to be consistent. I think the challenge that we're facing is disinformation that just continues to recirculate. And it almost becomes as if it's real information. And it starts to, using the mediums that we have out there, podcasts, social media, so many venues to push information is competing with the health information that's provided that the science is driving. And, when you riddle that and tie it up with politics and a real true, and I love this part about our community, a true commitment to our country and its founding values. And when you take that and you wrap it up into some political arguments that maybe steer away from some of the health indexes and some of the data that comes out of science, it really makes it difficult for people to stand up against that information. You really don't want to give up your right to choose. We don't want to give up our right to stand true on those early beliefs of freedom.
Yeah.
And when they have gotten indoctrinated with this political message that to either get a vaccine or to wear a mask, somehow all of a sudden we have tied that up into an American flag. I don't want to give up an American flag, but if I've tied up getting a vaccine with that, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, if I get a vaccine, am I laying down my American flag?
Yeah.
And I think that's, from what I can sort of ascertain, part of this challenge that we're having.
Yeah, I agree with you. The data that I've seen shows that the block of Americans that is most vaccine hesitant are white evangelicals, which tend to be Republican. And Calaveras County is mostly Republican. I think 60% or so voted the Republican Party in the last couple of elections. So, and also, like I've seen data that says that amongst conservative white evangelicals, family is a prime motivator of behavior as well, with things like vaccine hesitancy. So you get these people might be surrounded, and sometimes they call it an echo chamber of people that are anti-vaccine, and then and failing any other reason, they just stay vaccine hesitancy. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's talk about a little bit of the misinformation that we might see out there. Perhaps maybe I'll just like kind of throw out some of the reasons that I hear as a nurse. Did I mention I'm a nurse? Some people will say, like you mentioned, like you're violating my civil liberties. Mm-hmm. All right, but there's also like this vaccine is too new. It's being rushed to market. It might not be safe. And that's not really true that we've seen, is it?
Yeah, no, this vaccine has been studied. It's just hard to imagine because some of the early messaging was this sense of speed and efficiency and getting to things very quickly. Well, that mm-hmm. message can be really difficult to untangle later because that also has the tendency to give people the perception that there was corners cut. And so that's a piece of disinformation. So we're really trying to remind people that though this feels like it happened very quickly, the underlying research behind the vaccine was very long in the workings. And so now we're talking around that the data has informed the development of this vaccine. Long-term work has been done on a coronavirus. So in that regard, disinformation can come just from early messaging, especially when scientists were working very, what's the word I want to use? Because I don't want to say quickly, but
there was an urgency, but yeah,
high speeds.
Yeah. The side effects that sometimes people see that are normal amongst vaccines have prevented some people from getting the vaccine as well. But mostly what I've seen in my practice is just an injection site reaction that is mild and temporary. And that's the vast majority of it that I ever see.
And it's interesting because that tends to be the typical reaction of any vaccine. We see it when we vaccinate our infants. We see it when we vaccinate ourselves. Throughout any other type of vaccine. So it really isn't different. But what's different in the disinformation is people have created the stories around these very outlandish responses. I mean, there's those, I don't even want to state them in fear that someone would take them. But there's things that people put out there that have not been documented. But it becomes this reality for people when the story is shared over and over.
Okay.
Start to lose sight of where the story started.
I'm going to throw one out there. It was the chip thing. There were people that really sincerely believed that Bill Gates put a chip into the vaccine that would, I don't know, do whatever. But I understand that, what actually happened there, and I read this story, was that in a meeting, a single meeting, the question was thrown out there, is there a way that we could put a marker into the vaccine so that we could tell who's been vaccinated and who's not? It's not, it's not government overreach and we're not tracking people. It was just, hey, it would be helpful in sub-Saharan Africa to be able to perhaps know who's got their vaccine and who's not, because they're not necessarily going to be carrying around their vaccination card. But anyway, this never happened. Okay. It didn't prove to be something we could or would do. And still the conspiracy theory goes out there that there is a chip, and hopefully that, people are really not believing that one anymore.
Yeah, but you're right. That's the kind of thing that happens, and of course, none of us want to feel that we've been, subjected to something like that. And so, the message that we hope that we can get out there is that the vaccine is safe. It has been tested. It is driven by data, and that for the vast majority of humans, the vaccine is absolutely safe. Mm-hmm. And it's hard because like we were talking earlier, a lot of people were hesitant until the science backed it up, demonstrated by the FDA approval. Once we got that approval, there was some hesitancy still. But I will say I'm starting to see the numbers creep up. incrementally on getting fully vaccinated, especially within the adult population within Calaveras. One challenge is really getting our younger population, those that are in high school, to become vaccinated. And there's still quite a bit of fear there. Our numbers are still about a half of what the vaccinated rate across the state is for youth between the ages of 14 and 17.
Okay. That wrong. So vaccinated people are getting the virus, so why should I get the vaccine? Because it doesn't really matter. You can get it either way. But that
it's an easy thing
doesn't
to
jive with the science either.
Yeah, it's an easy thing to go down that path, but we just always want to remind people that you're 9 times more likely to be entered into a hospital setting, which to be entered into a hospital setting is severe. And we've seen the outcomes of so many hospitalizations, and a great number of those that are unvaccinated that enter the hospital.
Mhm.
There is a number that do die.
Mhm.
And, we don't want to lead our message with this fear base, but we want to use the reality that if you are vaccinated and you do become positive with COVID-19, the chances of having a very mild impact is far greater.
Yeah, agreed. Um, People worry about fertility and using the COVID vaccine during pregnancy, but we've also seen data about that. We found that the vaccine is safe amongst pregnant and lactating women. True?
Absolutely accurate. I did see that data as well. And then anecdotally, there's a story of someone in Southern California not so long ago that was in late stage pregnancy, became infected with COVID, and lost her infant. So, there just is so much consequence by not really looking in and seeing how we can protect ourselves.
I think too, we've learned that when we talk about vaccine hesitancy, we can't appear to those that are unvaccinated as though we're angry with them or that we have less respect for them. We have to be inclusive to these people. In my family, there are people that I love dearly that are unvaccinated, and they're not unintelligent, and they have their reasons. Okay, so one, she is of the mindset of that she really enjoys and uses alternative and complementary therapies, and in that world, this little echo chamber she lives in, they are vaccine hesitant, so she's going to remain that way. Another member of my family is she is in that group of conservative people that listen to some of the more extreme right wing media that are still vaccine hesitant. But we can say too that, and not that I watch Fox News, but I've heard that all the people on Fox News have now had the vaccine. All the Republican politicians, they've all had the vaccine, and so it seems to be getting better within the right wing media about vaccine hesitancy. Is that your experience too?
It's just outside of the scope of what I have really been focusing on, which is more on the health element rather than the politics. The politics can be a real slippery slope. And so I'm blessed to not have to kind of invest in that arena. But I do hear when you're saying that there are individuals in our lives who have made the decision. And of course, there's those individuals in our community, in our neighborhoods, who cannot get the vaccine due to their own medical reasons. And
That's
I
true.
never want to ostracize or leave anyone in our community feeling that they've done something wrong by taking care of their physical health when it includes for them not getting a vaccine. We also have those that are under the age, ability to have it. So, you're right. It's tricky because we want to be inclusive. We want to be safe.
Yeah.
For those who can receive that vaccine, it just really helps. And for those who can't, that's why we have masks. That's why we have social distancing, really focusing on washing our hands. There are so many other things that we can be doing in those rare instances when a vaccine is not a possibility.
I'm with you. I'm completely sympathetic to people that can't get the vaccine because of medical reasons, and I've seen those people too. And so that's another reason why we need to move toward herd immunity, so that those people that can't be vaccinated are protected by those of us that are vaccinated. The vast majority of us need to be vaccinated, and I'm not sure exactly what the figure is, but it's generally 80% of us or so once we're vaccinated, then we as a community, as a nation, will have herd immunity that protects all, or mostly protects all. So, right. All right. Somebody wants to get the vaccine. How do they do it?
So our vaccines are very, very easy to access. We have a mobile van that travels across our Calaveras County every day but Wednesday. And we put the times of that van, its locations and its times on our website. We have a COVID hotline. In fact, if you've noticed, my phone's been ringing. I answer those calls myself on occasion. And we're constantly providing the information. But basically, we have a listing, and the van goes everywhere from San Andreas to West Point, Valley Springs, Angels Camp, Arnold, McCollum Hill. If there's another area that's not on that list, if we see a need, the mobile van has absolutely changed the dynamic of access.
Yes, because we're a rural community. This is important because there are a lot of people that just can't make it to wherever there's, a vaccination site. So it's great that you have the van, and I'm going to guess that you'll bend over backwards to go wherever they are. If they're at work and they can't leave work, hey, the van will come to you. Is that right?
Well, we're not at that position, but we do have if you're homebound. So if you're homebound and there's a medical reason why you're unable to get out, there is a van that will come to your home and provide that vaccine access.
Well, sorry, I overstepped on you there just a little bit with suggesting.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't really come knocking on your door, but I'll tell you, we do go to the government center, places where we're going to see a lot of people. We go to the library. We're at the farmers market and Angels Camp. We're really out there so that very quickly you can just pop on through, take care of that. People are utilizing it. I was just hearing some numbers, and I'm really pleased to see the access. People are getting their boosters, which is now also available to get that third shot.
And that's available to people that are immunocompromised. They have underlying health conditions that make them more vulnerable to the virus, as well as healthcare workers, I understand.
Well, it's actually even more than that. So in Calaveras County, we use a self-attestation, meaning you can self-determine if you had a Pfizer series. So if you had Pfizer's 1 and 2, and 6 months of time has elapsed, you can self-attest your need for a booster shot. And you can do that on myturn.ca.gov. That vaccine is found at the van and at 2 of our local pharmacies. And so very easy access for that. I'm hearing of people getting them. The Moderna, you need to have a 28-day window of time since your last shot. And you do need to have an immunocompromised condition as of right now. And that's based on just, approvals and reviews of data. And same with the J&J. So we'll see those things evolve in time. But right now, if a person did have a Pfizer series, they can go and receive a third shot.
And it's free.
It absolutely is.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
So thank you. Cori Allen, Director of the Calaveras County Health and Human Services Department, which is, it's a busy, important place. And I thank you so very much in coming to talk with me about this.
Absolutely, Chris. Thanks for the invitation.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.